Welcome to the Avram Davidson universe. I'm Bob from Wheel of Genre, and this is...
Virgil from Literally Books.
Oh yeah, Virgil.
That's right. Yes. And we are on the Avram Davidson Universe podcast talking about Avram Davidson naturally.
Well, naturally, as one might suspect, Virgil, this this episode, what we want to do is talk about the many genres of Avram Davidson, because as you and I have found, he is writing in many different genres. You and I have talked about him kind of maybe even finding obscure genres that maybe have been left alone and bringing life back into them, or kind of mishmashing genres, almost in like a pastiche. He's really interesting in the way that he plays with genre. The first one that I want to talk about, Virgil, because I'm really excited about it, and I think you are too, is science fiction. And he seems to bring in a lot of low-key philosophy into the science fiction, which I think is very important in science fiction to make it interesting. But he also makes it very fun and almost absurd. Just
Yes.
it's crazy stuff sometimes. Like, the one, or all the seas with oysters, that story.
Mm-hmm.
That one's,
Yes. So
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll let
You
you do
go
this.
ahead. I'll let you
Because
go.
I've got one too.
Okay. Which one's yours? Which one's yours? What do you got?
So for me, a good one that's very similar to
Mm.
that is Help, It's Me, Dr. Goldpepper.
Oh God, that
Right?
was so good. Yeah.
It's just such a great sci-fi story. And I read it the first time. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening?
Yeah, I know. There's just doubt the whole time. No.
I was like, this is like, and what's great is that it's almost, well, so for Dr. Goldpepper, it's almost farce, but
Mm.
it's not. But what I love is that the characters in the story don't act farcical.
Hmm.
They take it serious, but then you're like, this is so funny. It's like, so that story is about these the American Dental Association discovering an alien invasion. Right? And that there's these dentists are meeting to say, like, we have to save Earth. We have to
Mm.
rescue Dr. Goldpepper and save Earth. And it's played so well, but it's just as silly as it sounds, and it's just as great as it sounds.
Yeah. That's what it always comes down to. The people who run the world are dentists and aliens.
That's
Everybody
right.
knows that. Yeah. So
It's like finally dentists get their due, right? It's like it's
finally
always
they get-
doctors, lawyers, whatever. What about the dentists? Like they went to school, like they've got a lot of training.
They're real. Yeah. You know what we need? We need an orthodontist book, Virgil. I think you and I should go in on this and write an
That's right.
orthodontist.
I've always said that everyone is equal in the dentist here. Everyone is equally terrified.
Everyone is equally terrified. Help! I am the long lost grandson of Dr. Goldpepper.
That's
I'm
right.
I'm really interested too. There's I've never read, so those are some that we've read and that we know quite well, but I'm interested in ones that we have never read. Earlier I talked about Rogue Dragon, but another one I'd really like to read because it reminds me a little bit of Starship Troopers, Masters of the Maze. It
Oh yes.
seems, yeah, I don't know much about this. It's from 1965, around there, and it sounds like another alien story comes down, and they're in a maze, and they have to go through this maze to conquer Earth.
Mhm.
Sounds rad.
It does sound cool. That story
Mm.
has an illustration in Barlow's Guide to Extraterrestrials. That's one of
Whoa.
that actually has. I don't want to show the illustration which I don't know if it would spoil the story or not. Probably not. But well, we'll just show it.
Whoa, we gotta see it. Oh.
We'll just show it. So Barlow's Guide to Extraterrestrials, right? I mean, this was
Mm.
the Science Fiction Book Club, like published about 10 million copies of this.
Wow.
And it's phenomenal, right? Started his career. Barlow was only, I think he was like in his like early 20s or like in his teens
Wow.
when he did this book.
No way.
And the idea was that his parents were natural history illustrators, so they did prehistoric animals and dinosaur illustrations.
Hmm.
And I see that. Oh, I don't know what page this is on. Let me see. I have to look. I think it's C. Okay. And he was reading science fiction books and was unhappy with the poor representation of these aliens in these books.
Huh.
And so he would try to make them accurate to the story. And so here we have the alien from Masters of the Maze. And
Whoa.
how I can spell this, I don't know. The Chuplex? Cuplex? I'm terrible.
The Chupacabra.
But, yeah,
Chuplex.
so that's super cool. I was like, "Ooh, I didn't even know that he had," so that's neat. It was one of the 50 entries that they apparently he read that book and then tried to make a accurate drawing of that alien for this guy.
Whoa.
So,
That
pretty
makes it
cool.
even cooler, Virgil. I'm glad you that didn't spoil it at all. I'm stoked. That's
Awesome.
that sounds really cool. What other like genres are you interested in reading? Because he's written so many genres.
He has, something I think is really surprising is we know him so much for his sci-fi and fantasy, but he wrote
Hmm.
really good, just straight mysteries and just
Hmm.
straight crime stories even, and then had, and then did weird sort of like not really magical realism, but almost like just barely touching on that sort of like that energy mysteries. I
Hmm.
don't remember the title of this story, but there's a story about this police officer who is like having this struggle with like feeling incompetent or that he's clumsy. And so he goes to this sort of like I want to say it's in South America somewhere, but it might just be Mexico. Um, and he goes and goes to this sort of sorcerer or wizard or
Hmm.
something, who lives off in the wild to sort of get a charm to help him. And that's a great like mystery story, right? With just a very tiny touch of magic in it, or that crime story Revolver,
Hmm.
which is sort of like a almost like a slice of life story in a sense. It follows this literally follows the path of this revolver as it
Whoa.
goes through different hands in the like in this sort of seedy part of the city. Just great. Like it's so surprising. Like, wow, this is like just fiction. Like this isn't there's no fantasy or sci-fi elements to this. This is just fiction. And it's really good.
Huh.
It's not, it's like, oh my gosh, this is such a good story. It's like, he's like, oh yeah, I could write like that too.
I can write like that too. I'll pick up whatever genre I want. The story about the revolver reminds me a lot of Borges. There's that story, I can't remember the name of it, but the two daggers that have a grudge together. And so eventually, yeah, it's a really short story. I shouldn't really spoil it, but these daggers use people to their ends to settle this grudge. And I kind of was thinking, Avram Davidson often feels like Borges. I think if people like Jorge Luis Borges, they might like some of these Avram stories. Um,
Yeah, Borges is somebody who
hmm,
I've read just a little bit of, and I'm like, I
hmm.
really need to read it because I know I'm gonna like it. Because, like you say, everything the little bit I've read has been very much in line with what Avram does, so
So if you like one, try the other.
yeah, right one
We
is
could be
like
doing.
it's like apple pie and ice cream, right?
That's right. He even got he got the award, the Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine Award. I think it was the Queen's Award for the necessity of his condition, which is 1957. I'd
Mhm.
like to read that too. He has lots and lots and lots of mysteries. And earlier I was saying how interested in the Esterhazy mysteries. I want to read those, the adventures and the inquiries, or Esterhazy or
Yeah,
Esterhazy.
I
Those are
yeah,
like from yeah,
I think some of those are in this collection, the other 19th
cool.
century, which this
Hmm.
illustration is just gorgeous, by the way.
Hmm.
You know, it's kind of hard to see because, on camera, but yeah, I think some of those are in here. I don't know if that's
Oh, cool.
exclusively in here though.
Oh, we got to read some of those. I want to see how when Avram is so detailed about these things, especially in like, he could play with details so well. Like when we read the story about El Vivoy, there's all of these hints about this character who he's a legend. No one knows who he is. But then, as you said, he appeared on the side of the road. He comes in at the end. He shows up. There's this mysterious character, and finally, if you've been paying attention well enough, you can figure out who it is. But it's all very subtle, and I want to see that in his mysteries.
Mhm.
Um, I also would like to, we talked about a little bit about science fiction and the fantasy element, but there are so many fantasy stories, and a lot of them, I think Avram can go into subgenres of fantasy, and I think we will see like a great diversity of subgenres. And I don't know if there's that many other authors in fantasy who will do that. They might change their magic system, they might change their setting, but it seems like Avram tries to just throw himself in and do, sword and sorcery. He does mythic stories, he does folklore stories. It's a little bit similar, but even some of the whimsical fantasy. We did a long time ago, my friend Ryan, we did Sechevreal, and it was such a crazy, weird carnival story where they have kind of a breaking someone out of the carnival to go, the carnies go and live once and for all happily together. It was just this crazy fantasy. It reminds me a lot too. This is a great game, Virgil. We got to try playing this sometime. My friend Ryan, when we did the Sechevreal episode, he made this called Tipples and Taverns. It's a RPG. It's great. Yeah, it's it's
I love it.
it's like D&D, but it's D&D if you've had a couple, and you can, but it's perfect because there's no math, so it's D&D but simplified. So like some of the fantasy stories that Davidson does, I think, really lend themselves to RPGs or to kind of immersive gameplay where you get to be like the characters. Sechevreal feels that way, where you are one of the carnies breaking in to get out your friend. And it just reminds me, if you like playing RPGs, one, get Tipples and Taverns because it's amazing. But two, also, I mean, read some Avram Davidson and see what you think if you really are kind of drawn into the story like an RPG.
Yeah. I've only read like the one Dr. Esterhazy, but that's definitely, if you were interested in Gaslight fantasy, I think that series would be a great way to inform yourself on like different ideas and themes and like really great mysteries. Avram, he wrote that series. He has an affection for that, and I think that really comes through in his fiction. And I think there's a lot. His works are so. What is the quote from Elville Voy? His stories may only be are like a mile wide, even if they're not that long, or something like that. Something like that. Like the stories are wider than they are long, and that's how it's the same with these with the Dr. Esterhazy. You felt like there was this huge world that you got just a little window into. Like, oh, I want more.
Give me more. Well, speaking of wanting more, the last genre I really want to talk about, because we've talked about we're enthusiastic about it. At Wheel of Genre, we're reading all of Jeff and Ann Vandermeer's The Weird, and I want to see more of these unclassifiable stories. We've talked about stories that are pastiche, or that are mixing up different genres, or that are revivifying different genres, but I want to see these weird stories, because you and I have both bumped into a lot of weird ones. The one that I think of is the Goobers, where you have an encounter with a story, and that story is unbelievable, completely unbelievable, but eventually the story becomes completely true and upsets everything that the characters knew about reality. I would love to see more of Avram Davidson doing those kind of mind-twisting, really out there, crazy, almost dream-like stories.
Absolutely. Yeah, that story is great. It is sort of like, okay, what's happening? And then it's like all these things that we've been talking about are real. It's very shocking, and you're like, oh
no.
What? You're like, wait a minute, what?
I didn't sign up for this.
It's like the boogeyman will get you, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, the boogeyman shows up. You're like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I thought this guy was just a bad person.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I love it so much. And he
scared
does
me with the
such great.
boogeyman there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just like how it almost feels like when he wrote in these different genres, like he was challenging himself. Like he was just sort of like, I'd like to try a story like this. And then he sort of presented himself this challenge, and then came up with a story idea and wrote it, right? It was almost like, can I do this? Let's see if I can do this. And then my experience, he always seems to pull it off. Every time you're like, this is a great example of this kind of story, one of the sci-fi stories the other one I meant to mention, but didn't, was this great story that doesn't seem like it's going to be sci-fi at all, called Full Chicken Richness. I don't know if you remember that one or not.
I think you told me about that one. Yes.
Yeah,
I haven't read it.
It's seemingly just a story about, I think, this chicken soup or like this meal, right? And
Hmm.
people are like, "What? How do you make such a tasty meal?" And he's like, "Well," and then you learn what the source of this chicken is, and you're like, and it's just not what you think. It's
Oh
not what you
no,
think. And it's not as, and it
I
might be
don't
that
even know
might
what to
people
think.
think like, "Oh no, is it people?" It's not people. We'll just go ahead.
Soylent Green is.
I'll de-escalate from that because it's just cooler than that. It's just like you're like, "Whoa."
Mm.
So great, just a great story. I'll just leave it there. I don't want
That is the best sell on a book I've ever heard, Virgil. I need to know what this chicken is. I'm, I won't be able to sleep at night. I mean,
to. I'm sorry.
what is this
It's
full
great. It's not
chicken
a long. It's a
richness?
short story. It's fantastic. It's such a fun story. You're just like, "Oh, this is
Hmm.
so good."
I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's again a treasure hunt, as we've said. It's going to be an interest of ours, trying to see new takes of genres, or even um, new versions of myths that maybe we were familiar with, but now
Yeah,
are a little bit different in a very special way.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Very excited about it.
Yippee ki Virgil!
Yippee ki Hey ho!
Hey, let's go. All right, Virgil. Until next time.
All right, Bob. Thanks.